Well, howdy doody. My name is Cameron, better known as Venus Theory. I'm a musician and sound designer, and I've also been told I have a YouTube channel where I do stuff. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to be here with Imageline and UVI to show you the new UVI Power Bundle for FL Studio. In this video, I want to break down how I did a contemporary horror trailer score using only the UVI Power Bundle within FL Studio. So let's roll the final trailer, we'll break down how it was done, and let's get spooky. So we'll be breaking down how I did this trailer score today, and I just want to share some tips and tricks with you with the UVI Power Bundle. Of course, it's also worth mentioning that the UVI Power Bundle goes way beyond the world of just film scoring. I just thought this would be a fun way to demo it because I just really love doing this stuff. First off, whenever I'm doing a scoring session, after I watch the video just to get a sense of what I'm working with, I'll go through and start adding hit points in the arrangement here. FL makes this really easy. We can zoom in and just use Alt to scrub on the timeline and find the point where something happens. Then we'll use Alt-T and that brings up a marker where we can insert markers just to tell ourselves where something important happens. So first things first, I like to build off a basic atmosphere. For this, I called up a couple presets from Meteor. Now, Meteor was designed as a rise and impact soundware, but it goes way beyond that and is actually pretty versatile. Not only can it do the classic impacts and things like that, but it's really good at different sound effects and even tense drones and sound beds. To get things cooking, I just layered up 3 instances of Meteor with different sounds to create sort of that underbed for everything here, and that's these first 3 tracks. To really get those classic horror vibes going, I went into Emulation 2 Plus and found a Waterphone sound. Waterphones are super cool, I really wish I had one, and they're an absolute staple for contemporary horror scoring. So I added that in, and that really pulls the mood together here. And layering that in with the basic effects we've built in Meteor. The nice thing with Meteor and pretty much every other UVI soundware is that it's less like a traditional instrument library and more like a sound engine. On the main tab, you'll always find all the basic controls you need to instantly use something, but you can dive into the settings to start really tweaking stuff. Here in Meteor, you can change out all the different sounds, adjust the panning and levels, and you can even go in to add extra edits like the shape, adding distortion, adjusting a filter, the pitch, or even switch them into granular mode. One of the nice things to know about UVI Workstation is actually the effects section. Within Workstation, you can add tons of different effects by going in and clicking the plus effects button, and in theory, you could probably mix your entire session this way because you have everything from fully parametric EQs to delays and reverbs to modulation and dynamics processors and pretty much everything else you need, and you can add this to any of the sounds, which is extraordinarily powerful. Because FL Studio also offers what I would consider probably some of the most powerful automation tools out of any DAW, it's also worth noting that virtually all of these parameters can be exposed for automation within an FL session, which is kind of nuts, and we could probably spend hours talking about that alone, but we should probably focus and get back to work here. To start building out the more traditional trailer elements, I opened up Augmented Orchestra and I found this preset called Fragile Bow, and I just played it really low and added a nice pitch bend. To enhance the sound, I called up an instance of Shade, and Shade is less like an EQ and more like a very complex filter bank. I found this preset called Pulsar, which had this crazy comb filter effect that moves. So to enhance the movement a bit more, I added in another LFO to control the rate of the first LFO. So within Shade, not only can you modulate the EQ, but you could modulate the modulators and modulate those modulators and so on. It's actually pretty neat. Putting this on top of our string sound, it now turns into this. To build out the rest of the string section, I used Augmented Orchestra to add in some other string effects like swelling, tremolo patches, and even some hit effects, which is kind of like slapping the bow against the instrument, which sounded really cool. Putting all the strings together, we now have this. Very classic contemporary string section. And when we build that in with the other elements I'd created so far, we've really got all the core elements done. So now it's just a matter of starting to build out the finer details. No trailer is complete without big sub-bassy drops, so to create that, I opened up Augmented Orchestra and I found this preset called 80 Sub. Within that, I disabled the first layer and went into the second layer and started tweaking things like the filter cutoff, the filter envelope, the amplitude settings, and even went in and tweaked the effects a little bit. I also opened up the editor here and increased the pitch bend range for this instrument to create that classic boom lowering bass drop effect, and this on its own sounds huge. To add a little bit more drama to some of the transition points, I found this sound in Meteor called Strings 2, which I thought was interesting, and if you play it low, it starts to turn into almost sort of a taiko drum effect. So I added that in and thought, why not spice this up a little bit more? I opened up Quadra and I found this preset called Snakes and Dice, which has this interesting dark groove to it. I opened up a copy of Shade to create sort of a pulsating effect. And then by layering the drums with that Quadra, it creates this really sort of uncomfortable, off-kilter, out-of-sync rhythm effect. I think one of my favorite sounds in this whole section actually happens when the TV comes on screen here with the static. To create this within Meteor, I found this sound called Curse End, and I found if you played it low, it had this really heavy sort of feel. So I played different notes until I found one that had the right sort of rhythm. Then within the settings, I changed out some of the sounds, adjusted the levels, and then just automated the noise so that it rises up as that slow zoom happens on the camera, and it really fits what's on screen perfectly. Getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, I wanted to add those kind of whoosh effects to some of the big transition points in the trailer. I had this sound within Meteor, but lining this up with MIDI can be a little bit tricky, so instead I actually resampled the sound out through Edison. Edison is awesome for this sort of stuff because you can instantly drag the sound into the arrangement area here. Then holding Alt, you can line it up exactly where it needs to go, and with the new features in FL21, you can use these volume automations to just adjust the sound and make it fit exactly how it needs to go and control the level over time. Above that, you can see I did the same thing with an impact here. So I designed an impact sound within Meteor, I resampled in Edison and dragged it into the arrangement area here, and then I could line it up precisely with where it needs to go. And this really adds some serious drama and punch to those major cuts in the trailer. Using another instance of Quadra, I really wanted to create that classic trailer Brahm effect. So I layered up 2 guitars here and turned off the arpeggiator to create just this big dark hit. Closing off the hits and effects in the trailer, I added 1 instance of Meteor here at the end with the preset Dark Keys. I went into the settings and changed out some of the sounds and just adjusted the levels a little bit, and it creates this really interesting textured piano hit, which I thought really worked well with that last kind of impact on screen as just, something's happening. Of course, we've also got some big jump scares here in the beginning and one right there on the end stinger, so I used Meteor to create a couple big jump scare sound effects just to add some freakiness to the whole thing. and one more on the end. And that was really it for the hits and transitions. To mix the session, I just went through and added an instance of Shade on every single channel. This way I could do all the EQ work. And I also did some dynamic EQ using Shade, because any band of Shade can be made dynamic. Other than that, I leveled things out and added a master send for a reverb and a delay. The mixer in FL is really flexible and pretty powerful actually, and as someone who's still relatively new to FL, I actually really liked this workflow, because in trailer sessions you can end up with these huge things and it becomes a real hassle, but routing this was super easy. I could just grab a track, send it to something, and control the send level. So after that, I just mastered it using some stock FL plugins. I didn't really do anything particularly groundbreaking, so there's not much to talk about there. And then the cue was done. There's a ton of other stuff to explore in the UVI Power Bundle, and it goes way beyond what I can show in just one short video here. There are collections of iconic vintage hardware synthesizers, entire orchestra sections with automatic chord voicing tools, there's drum machines, complex arpeggio designers, pianos, creative sound design tools, and a whole lot more. So if you want to see everything that's offered, you could find more information with the links down in the description below. Although this is a time-limited offer for FL Studio users, all the products in this bundle are available individually at uvi.net. So with that, I guess my time's up. A huge thank you to ImageLine and UVI for involving me in this project. This was a lot of fun, and of course, a mega thank you to you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something, and of course, as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.